What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to the Ecom Unlimited YouTube channel. My name is Cajua Robinson. I am a seven-figure seller on Amazon that has been in the game since 2017. In today's video, me and Piri from SellerSnap are going to go into some advanced repricing presets that you can use in your business if you're using SellerSnap in order to increase your profits in buy box share percentage. E-commerce is the greatest business opportunity of our generation. Before we get into the presets, Piri, if you could just introduce yourself real quick and then we'll walk through it.
Hi guys, I'm Piri from SellerSnap. I have been with SellerSnap for about 5.5 years now. So I've seen all the different presets, all the different settings, and I know how to make sure we're maximizing and not minimizing profits.
Awesome. And thanks again for your time and all the things you do to help out the sellers that are using SellerSnap. So if you don't mind just sharing your screen, and then we'll just walk through these presets and go from there.
All right. So I made up this preset just so we can talk about it a little bit on the call. But so Cajua, I know you're a big fan of the YoYo, so we'll discuss a little bit about the YoYo. So the first thing that we want to talk about is our default AI repricer with a YoYo. Cajua, if you want to say how much you love the YoYo, because you know my feelings on the YoYo, why do you love it as much as you do?
Yes, so I love the YoYo just because I find that I end up getting a decent amount of my sales at my max price. So what the YoYo does is based on what you tell, and you can see here, it's saying regular repricing / AI repricing for about 3 hours, 180 minutes. And then after 3 hours, go up to your max price and hold there for 30 minutes. And so what that's going to do is if you're in the buy box, when you jump to your max price, you'll take the buy box up to your max price and then start getting sales at that point. So the YoYo particularly works well on high volume listings or listings where your competitors might be price tanking for reasons unbeknownst to us. It can also kind of help reset that race to the bottom.
I 100% agree with all of that. I think my opinion always is the AI will naturally YoYo, but I do actually like your rationale behind it. So I might change my opinion a little bit. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I agree that the
AI definitely does naturally YoYo. I just like mine to be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, an aggressive YoYo. We like a jump to the top.
Correct.
But better than a race to the bottom. Well, so yeah, so you can always add in the YoYo on the AI, which is it is helpful. I personally like it on more rule-based conditions. However, we have a lot of sellers who like using it on the AI as well. And then we have our if I'm the only seller condition. Because SellerSnap's AI is built on competition, if you happen to be the only seller, the AI doesn't have a way of competing for the buy box because it's just sitting there thinking, wow, I'm getting 100% buy box share and keeps increasing the price, which is great in theory. However, there's a good chance that you're now not going to be selling at the best. So the next condition that I want to talk about is if I'm the only seller. So when you're the only seller, you're not basing anything off of competition. So the AI that SellerSnap uses has no way of seeing what your true buy box share is because in theory, you're getting 100% buy box share because there's no competition. Because of this, the AI, which is built on competition, is not our best solution. So a much better thing is to say, in general, let me be on AI, bring the price up as much as possible. However, if I'm the only seller and I haven't had a sale in, let's say, 24 hours, at that point, I need to start bringing the price down so I can start selling. So I like to add the reoccurring price change and we'll just start dropping price. It's not super aggressive, but dropping price by about 2 cents every 15 minutes allows the repricer time to start lowering down and for buyers to look and say, now it's a little bit smaller of a price. Maybe I'm more interested in purchasing. So that's where if I'm the only seller plus a no purchase can come in handy. On those, you're the only seller or private label or whatever kind of scenarios, all your competition left, something like that happens. The next condition that I want to speak about, go for it, Cajua.
Yeah, I'll add a note onto the only seller one as well. Yeah. So as viewers know by this point, because I talk about it all the time, I do a lot of wholesale brand direct, and we have a few relationships where we are the exclusive seller on their products. And the other thing that we know is that Amazon does like to see price movement in general, even if it's small, just to kind of keep the listing fresh, for lack of a better way to say it. So I have some products where I'm always the only seller, but for some of the slower selling ones, it is nice to be able to, okay, when there's no sale, then you start getting some price action. And then that'll also show like a minor discount on the listing too, depending on how big the price movement is, true. Which then also helps to kind of restart that to get it some more sales as well. So especially if you do have a listing where you're the exclusive seller, this is a good thing to have set on the listing anyway. So maybe you just have the rules set to your max price, whatever that is, and then you have a minimum price a few dollars below. And then if you're not getting sales every single day, then you'll get this price action happening throughout as well.
Yeah. And also if it's a slower velocity item, you could always make it 48 hours, 72 hours, like 24 is definitely a smaller interval, but you have to know your listing. It has to be realistic. So
yes.
The next condition that I really want to talk about is the low inventory level fee. So this was a new thing that Amazon came out with last end of summer, that if you have less than 28 days,
I hate this fee.
Believe me, I was also like, this is so silly that if you have less than 28 days, it is highway robbery. If you have less than 28 days of historical days of supply, which is based on your 90-day velocity and 30-day velocity that Amazon is calculating internally, then they can say, you know what, you now have to pay a fee because you have less than 28 days of items available to sell, which is absurd in itself. However, SellerSnap has a way of now we are calculating this. And so we can see not only what the historical days of supply is, but we're also able to look at it and say, are you getting the fee? If you are getting the fee, what should you do? If you're getting the fee and it's an item that you know you're replenishing, jump the price to max, pause, stop selling, hold off, hold your horses, let that inventory come back in, wait till it's available, and then start selling again without the fee. So having a strategy like this where it says low inventory level fee is currently applied, true, you're actively getting the low inventory level fee on your listings, set to maximum price. Stop selling, pause where you're at, wait it out until you get your inventory, and then start again fresh. Super important because we're finding that sellers, it's just not worth it. It's not worth to pay that extra $1.60 for a new listing that you're going to be replenishing anyway. It's just not worth it.
Yep.
That's the low inventory level fee. We also have it for historical days of supply, but if you don't know if you're necessarily getting the fee, I don't really recommend using it. I prefer using the low inventory level fee because that's when you know it's actually being applied or not.
Got it. That makes sense.
The next one that I really like is an inventory age condition. As I said, I like the idea that we're now in, February, we're getting into starting the year fresh. We're kind of finishing up Q1. We might have a lot of items still from Q4 that are sitting in inventory. So it's kind of the time to start making sure things are cleared out. We can start getting our spring inventory in, getting ready for the year. If your inventory is over 90 days, you can also choose 30, 60, 90, whatever it is. At 90 days, you start getting fees. So that's why I like using it the 90-day. If your inventory is aged over 90 days and you have more than nothing available, then we need to start moving. Win buy box, 95%. Let's get aggressive. Let's move it out of inventory. Not worth the fees, not worth having it just sit there to just incur those over 90-day storage fees.
Can you talk briefly about the difference of how the win buy box functions versus the regular AI?
Yeah, for sure. So AI has like a very holistic approach. It wants to share the buy box, wants to be everyone's friend. It wants to make sure that everyone is getting their quote unquote fair share. Win buy box says, I don't really care what anyone else is doing. I'm going to win the buy box at the percentage that I'm being designated based on my minimum and maximum. So we'll never go below your minimum, obviously. However, we will say, okay, how far do we need to go down in order to win 95% of the buy box? This is super aggressive. We're going to most likely be sitting at minimum. However, if you wanted to be a little bit less aggressive, you could say something like 65%. And if we're able to maintain 65% buy box share and we're not at your minimum price, we'll start to increase the price back up. So if we're able to maintain the designated buy box share, we will start to increase the price again. But something obviously that you want to keep in mind is if you're needing to get rid of inventory and just sell, go for a high percentage, get it out of the way. Just, it's not worth incurring the fees. Obviously, if your minimum price is within a range where you can maybe lower it a little more before you start having negative profit, it's worth it. Get it out, because getting those getting those storage fees it's just not worth it. Amazon will bite you wherever they can. And inventory fees.
Yes, they will, and yes, they do.
Yeah. So it's just not worth it. Get it out of the way. But so the idea of win buy box is be aggressive. Whereas the AI decides how much buy box share it should be going after, you're designating it with win buy box.
Yep. Yeah. And one thing that I have in my presets, because sometimes I like to get really specific. So I have a win buy box. I have a 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, and 50% setting.
Yeah.
So that way with specific listings, if I'm using the AI and I'm only seeing that I'm getting like 1 or 2% buy box share and it's not being aggressive enough, then I can just kind of rotate through each one of those to see which one starts getting me the amount of sales that I need for that particular listing.
Yeah. I think that's also having it kind of switch it up is also really beneficial, because you can go from really aggressive to kind of aggressive to not so aggressive, and you can play around with it. So you're really changing it on the listing. Whereas the AI is always going to look at it and say, to me, you and 2 other sellers, we should all be getting 25%. And it's just going to try to leave it at that. It doesn't want to be the one that drags it down. When BuyBox says, more power to me, and goes for it.
Right. Exactly.
Throws caution to the wind.
Yes. All right, Piri, thank you for your time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Well, Cajua, thank you so much for inviting us. This was wonderful to be a part of this. It's very fun.
Of course. Yeah, so there will be a link in the description if you want to get a free 15-day trial of SellerSnap, and that will also get you 10% off your first 3 months using SellerSnap as well. And Piri, what can someone expect if they sign up? Like, what does the onboarding process look like? How does that go?
So the first thing that we're going to do is open your store, obviously. Then we're going to want to get on a demo call and just walk through the platform with you. We want to understand your store. We want to understand you. How long have you been selling? What kind of items are you selling? What are your goals? Are you more profit oriented? Are you more velocity oriented? And we kind of want to figure out, okay, great. What are your goals for your store? And start to put in things in place. And then not only having that initial call where hopefully we'll turn on repricing, we'll then talk every, 3-4 days throughout the 15-day trial to always be talking and updating and having commentary, so that that we care, first of all, but also that we know what's going on in your store, so that we're able to maintain what it is that your goals are. And so that you're all set up so that when your trial's over, you can set it and forget it and then just go about your life.
Yes, and that's one of my favorite things about working with you guys is I've learned so much about the different repricing presets just from that initial onboarding call that we had. And I remember you were like, "Oh yeah, these are some of my favorite presets. Set this up," and I was like, "Oh, I had no idea that repricers could do this. This is awesome."
It was the best.
Yes,
and look at us now.
and we're still here. We're
still here.
All right, guys. Awesome. If you want to check out SellerSnap, get that free 15-day trial. Again, there is a link in the description, and I will see you all on the next video. Peace.